Okay, I think we're live. Hey, I'm here with Trey Witzel. Hello, McFarlin. It's a good Monday afternoon. I'm here at my apartment. So if you see my Christmas tree behind me, right next to my bed, that's how you set up an apartment. You put the Christmas tree next to the bed, and we're
Makes
here today.
Christmas morning really
It
easy.
makes it really easy. Gets me in the spirit every day. So I'm here with Trey. We're gonna have a little bit of an afternoon where we just get to know Trey a little bit. We have some questions. If you guys have questions as you guys tune in and join into this live video, you guys can put those in the comments. We can get to know Trey together. We're on a Zoom call right now. He's over in Edmond. I'm here in Norman. And Trey, your first day at McFarlin is when officially?
It is Sunday, January 3rd.
Sunday, January 3rd.
Yeah, I have a call time at 7:40 to get ready for worship in the morning.
There
So,
you go. So
yeah,
with a 7:40 call time, what time are you getting up on Sunday morning?
man, we'll be in our house, God willing. Gas hasn't
Right.
been installed in it yet, so assuming it's installed and we can move in, I live about 3 miles from the house, from the church.
Yep.
Um, so I'm hoping I'll be able to get up. I don't know, 6:30 to calm the nerves.
Yeah, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Are you an
No,
early riser kind of person?
I am now that I have a child. Um,
You were forced
I
to be.
can't. Yeah, and she's a great baby. She
Yeah.
sleeps until between 8 and 9, pretty much every day, and so yeah, I have it much easier than a lot of parents. But I can't sleep past 9. Like that's impossible now.
Interesting. Do you like when you see Sloan, especially like at 20 months, are you starting to see like maybe aspects of you or your wife Addison like in Sloan?
Yeah, for sure. She's such a little. We keep saying like you're like a little person. Like
You're
after
such a little
Christmas,
person, yeah.
she got all new clothes, and so she's not kind of wearing her older clothes. She's kind of hit that new 2T kind of range.
Yeah.
And one of the things Sloan loves to do is go on YouTube and watch our wedding video and our rehearsal dinner video.
Really?
And
That's
so
so
those
funny.
have, she just loves it, and she giggles every time mom and dad kiss on the screen. And um, but particularly in the rehearsal dinner, you have all these pictures of us from when we were little, and it's almost shocking looking at it and being like, oh my gosh, I had a mullet when I was little. My dad thought it was super cool, and so
what
I
what
had this
happened to
mullet.
it?
Well, I got no hair. Started losing it in high school, and so it just
Yeah.
kind of fell down here.
There you go.
Um, but Sloane's got super long hair. She's already had 2 haircuts.
Wow.
Um, and so she's got these short bangs, this long hair. It hasn't really grown in the side, and so like I affectionately call it a mullet. My wife doesn't love it
That's
when I
like, I don't know.
call.
How's Addison feel about that?
Yeah, she doesn't love it. But I see myself so much now in those pictures, and
Yeah.
um, she's got our eyes. We both have blue eyes, and so it's the wildest thing in the world having a 20-month-old.
I'm sure it's a total ride. I bet it's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, she's cool. She's great.
Awesome. Hi, Donna. Hey, Kristen. Thanks for joining in. As you guys join in, jump in. We're getting to know and meet Trey today. This is Trey Witzel, the incoming associate pastor at McFarland, who's going to be in charge of our modern service and a lot of our discipleship at McFarland. We're super excited for him to join our team and our congregation and our community. So we're just taking some time to get to know him today, this afternoon. So if you have questions or things you want to know about Trey, put those in the comments. I'd love to forward those to Trey and for you all to get to know him just as much as I'm continuing to get to know him right now. We've had a couple conversations, and I can't understate how excited I am for him to be a part of our team and a part of our congregation at McFarland. So I do have a couple of questions that I just kind of want to rattle off to you. The first one being, if you
Sure.
had to describe yourself using 3 adjectives, what would you use?
Okay, 3 adjectives. I'd say the first one's probably optimistic. I am generally a pretty positive person. I'm generally a pretty uh, even keel. If anything, I get really excited about things. So maybe that's my second adjective is optimistic and excited. I think things are
Awesome.
generally going to work out. I have a real trust in God and in the team of idea of church and family and friends that we can handle anything that's thrown at us.
Yeah.
One of my things about ministry is I like to think at least that I'm pretty collaborative. I like being a part of a team. Um, I have no illusions of grandeur that like I've got it all figured out, and
Yeah.
so which makes it easy to be optimistic when you surround yourself with a strong team and people you can believe in. Um, I'm not a musician, and so I have no illusions that I'm going to go out and be the rock star or
Right.
anything like that. And so I love being able to just literally hand the mic over and say, use your gift. So I'm pretty optimistic, a pretty excitable guy.
In a good
Ministry's
way.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like this is going to be awesome. This is going to be
Yeah.
great. I've been kind of teased here at Edmond First that like when something's stressful or something bad's going on, my response is, "Hey, it's going to be great. It's going to be okay. like no worries." And maybe that's not as helpful to people who are not as optimistic, but I think someone needs to be the voice in the room that says, "Hey, we're going to get through this."
Absolutely.
And so I guess my third adjective would be it kind of goes along the same lines, but I'm pretty passionate.
Yeah.
Ministry should be fun. It should be life-changing. I really like the McFarlin mission statement of changing lives to change the world. That what happens at church extends to the rest of our lives. And so I want to help other people be passionate for what God's called them to do. One of my favorite quotes in the world, it's by Howard Thurman, and he says, "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what sets you on fire, because what the world needs is people on fire and excited and passionate."
I never heard that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and obviously we need to care about what the world needs, but we all have individual gifts and graces to share and give to the world, and so figure out what you're passionate about and go change the world in that way. And so I guess optimistic, excited, and passionate are the three adjectives
I love
to describe me.
And then, like you said towards the end there, and kind of when you're talking about being just an excited person, when you sit around a table with a lot of people, there's, maybe people who aren't always super excited, but it takes, every part of the body coming together. And you said, whatever sets you on fire, that's what the world needs. We need a lot of people who are just on fire. I mean, if we all just are passionate about or pursue what we're passionate about, everything goes into the body. So really excited for that.
Yeah, man. I really think I got the best job in the world. Really. Yeah. I get paid to be a Christian. I get paid to help other people.
I've never thought about it like that. Yeah.
We got this awesome job. We're asking other people who are working 9 to 5, who are raising kids, who are really on the grind to then come and be a part of the church. And so when I see other people willing to make those engagements and commitments and come alive, you and I, we get to go to church camp, we get to go a mission trip, and that's the expectations.
Yeah.
Other people have to take time off, they have to sacrifice.
Absolutely.
And so, man, I don't ever wake up and go to work. Find a job you love and you never have to work in your life. And that's how I approach going to church.
Absolutely. That is something I definitely noticed too. Like working at the church, you find this deep appreciation for the congregation, the community that you're a part of, and how much they invest back into the life of the congregation and the community that you are a part of, and then ultimately the greater kingdom. And they do it all while also, like you said, working 9 to 5s, raising kids, working through whatever else they got going on in life. So I'm very, as you said too, thankful to be a professional Christian, to get paid to be a Christian. Yeah. And that kind of, this is a perfect segue because, you talked about, you have the greatest job, you get to be a pastor, you get to do this as a living. So can you share with us a little bit about your story about being called into ministry?
Yeah. I don't want to give too much away because I've already written my first sermon for the 10th. And I include some of this, but I'll just say I received my call ministry in high school pretty early on. Church camp. My mom was my youth minister. I was raised at Village United Methodist Church here in Oklahoma City, and my mom was youth minister through it all. And church has always been my second home in a lot of ways. If I got sick, and my mom had to work, and so instead of taking me home, I took naps in the youth room at a young age. My babysitters were people from the youth group. Church has always been the place I'm most comfortable. We used to have we would be a tornado shelter in the village for a long time, and so I was part of our first response team as a kid. And I remember staying outside in the rain and the hail, like flagging people in and helping people come down. And so if there's a tornado, my first response is, let's go to church. It's got a basement, it's a big building, it's going to be safe. And there's been a few times where my wife has been like, that's not normal. Like, it's not normal in Tornado to say, let's go to church. Like, we have space here, we have a shelter here, that kind of stuff. But that's kind of gone into whenever there's been crisis in my life, whenever there's been struggles, that first reaction has been to go to church. And so my ministry specific, I wanted to be a pastor, went to Oklahoma City University, got a degree in religion and philosophy. And I was in that environment of academia, which I still love.
Yeah.
And that kind of will probably reflect in some of my leadership in teaching and preaching. But I wanted at one point to go get a PhD in religion. And so I went to Boston University kind of with that intention of being ordained in teaching and trying to blend those two, be a bridge maybe. And then I read a book called Slow Church. It's by Christopher Smith and John Patson, and the tagline is Slow Church, Cultivating Community and the Patient Way of Jesus. And I have it marked on my calendar after reading that book. I changed my MDiv track from religion in the academy to pastoral ministry.
Wow.
And so every year it reminds me on my calendar that date. And it when I changed that track, when I handed in that form, it's one of the first times I felt that peace that passes all understanding.
Yeah.
That people talk about. I've been blessed to be on this call to ministry. I know it's not easy for a lot of people, but I served a little church in Massachusetts, rural Massachusetts, called Tewksbury. When I got there, they were worshiping about 25 people, and they surrounded me and loved me and supported me. And we doubled the size of the church in 2 years. We had more baptisms in those 2 years than they had in the previous decade and a half. I mean, saw some real affirmation that this is kind of where God's called me and where I fit. And so that's just a little bit of my trajectory. In my first sermon, this is a tease. I'll talk a little bit about like the actual moment of kind of accepting that call to ministry. But it was pretty early in high school.
Yeah, I think it's like just from what you've shared about your call so far, I think that's a good example to a lot of young people who feel the call too, because one of the things I didn't really realize when I experienced my call and fully accepted, pursuing it, was how adaptive the call can be sometimes. You kind of get led and nudged and God leads you, and sometimes there's turns and So thank you for sharing that. I'm really excited to hear more about it in your first sermon too. You're going to share. So I have a couple questions.
Sure. Okay.
In the comments here, Kaylee Deadman, who's a student at OU, she wants to know, what is your favorite Skittles color / flavor?
Oh my gosh, Kaylee. I know Kaylee. Kaylee was a part of our church here in Edmond first, and then she went to OU, and I'm trying to really encourage her to go to Boston University, which is where I went to seminary. And so, Kaylee, go to BU when you graduate. But my favorite Skittles. So I'm not someone who pours out Skittles and kind of organizes or whatever. I'm non-discriminatory when it comes to Skittle. Like, I just close my eyes, pour and eat. I just take it. Yeah. So I don't have a favorite. I'm grateful for whatever Skittle you give me.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, there's like something about combining all the flavors, and that's the Skittle experience.
Oh, 100%, 100%. It's a metaphor for the body of Christ.
It's a metaphor for the body of Christ. Another question is, and you may have kind of covered this in your call story a little bit. So, in fact, you did. But what is your favorite part of ministry?
Man, my favorite part of ministry.
This is from Donna.
Cool. Thanks, Donna. I love a lot of ministry. I reach my highest highs going to camp. Y'all probably heard from me, read this about me, but I dean one of our conference camps for junior and senior high. It's called Camp Spark. It's kind of a lineage thing. It was the camp that was born out of our North and South Oklahoma City district camps. If any of you Methodist heads have been around for a little while. And my mom actually deaned that camp. And so she handed it off to two people to dean. And I was there at that lunch when she was handing out all those documents. I was in high school, maybe a freshman in college. And then one of those deans moved. And so they asked me when I came back to be the dean. And so it's this really tight lineage, but
it's full
going
circle.
to church camp, it really is.
Yeah.
And so going to church camp, being with people and their really the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, the youth just fill me with so much hope and joy.
Yeah.
And so being able to worship with them, being able to at Canyon Camp, there's this area called Hammock Heaven. and where so you set up a hammock and people just sit around and talk, and um, all of those moments, you just come back and say like that's church. And so you want to try and create those kind of small glimpses into what heaven on earth looks like. And so we try to do that in everything we do in worship and discipleship and serving with each other and just hanging out. One of my Rudy Rasmus, he's a pastor down in Houston. He's United Methodist. He's Beyonce's pastor. I don't know if you know Beyonce.
There you go.
She's United Methodist.
Who is Beyonce?
Yeah, let me give you a little. No, but he has this line that he tries to make the ordinary extraordinary in ministry. I think those are the most beautiful times of ministry. Yes, worship's awesome. Yes, going to mission trips and the food pantries and all those. I love all those, but there's also those moments in the in-between times.
Yeah.
Where God shows up, where these ordinary coffee chats, these passings in the hallways, right now it's these random Zoom calls that go from ordinary to extraordinary in ministry that you can never plan for, that you can never expect. Those are also some of the things that I love about ministry. These kind of like God winks at us in those moments are awesome.
Absolutely. I'm totally on board with the camp ministry. I mean, for being a youth director, so much of my ministry is in camps and in mission trips. And there is something about camps and mission trips that take ordinary life and just make it extraordinary. God does some pretty amazing things, whether it be in worship or in the projects that they're working on day to day, or just in the cabins at camp. That just makes life that much more extraordinary. And so
I gotta say, as a dean, I get my own cabin. Yeah. And so that's also where I see God, is not having to share a cabin with junior high boys. I get to hang out with them and then just give them to their cabin leaders.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
I remember the first camp that I got to be a dean on, and that was I got to be in a different cabin, and I was torn at first. I was like, gosh, do I miss out on being in the cabins with my boys and getting to know them further? And it was a group of students I already got to know really well, and I had an ample amount of leaders coming. I was like, okay, you guys go get to know the kids more. Yes. And I went and stayed in the dean cabin. And I was like, I actually slept. I didn't have bed bugs, so
it doesn't stink.
It doesn't stink. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. So another question is hobbies. What are some of the hobbies that you have?
Yeah,
from Randy Gardner.
Cool, thanks, Randy. I love to kayak.
Oh, awesome!
I bought a kayak, 2017 or 2018 maybe, and I was going down to annual conference to teach. We had like a youth and young adult kind of pre-conference, and I was going to go down and teach. And I drove by a Dick's Sporting Goods, and it was like Memorial Day boat sale, and I just whipped my Jeep into the parking lot, and they had a kayak real cheap. I bought it. I didn't have any straps or anything, so I threw it in the back of my Jeep. The tip of it touched the front of my windshield, and so I couldn't see out the right, so I could only make left turns to get home. Nice. I love my kayak. I love getting out in it. For Father's Day, Addison was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take care of Sloan. You just go out and just have a morning, kayak however long you want." Wow. And I love it. I love it. So I'm excited to come down Norman because there's a whole bunch of lakes and rivers that I have not experienced yet because I've just done things closer. And so there's a whole lot of beautiful lakes and rivers. So I'm pretty outdoorsy. I like going hiking. I have this big old backpack that Sloan can get in.
Nice.
And I try and take her, as long as it's not too cold or rainy, at least once a day, go for a mile and a half, 2 miles with her. She loves being outside. It's great exercise for me. And so we'll go to Martin Nature Park or the zoo or any of that kind of stuff are things I really love.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, what a way to come across a hobby. A sale over at, was it Dick's Sporting Goods, you said?
Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
Man, and I was about 30 minutes late to that teaching session. They're like, "Trey, where were you?" I was like, God called me. I saw the burning bush of the giant banner that said boat sale. I just whipped in.
That's incredible. I mean, if you like going out and just being outdoors, I mean, there's a lot of places just around Norman, but in Norman, there's the Sutton Wilderness, George Sutton Wilderness, over a great place to go walking, biking, running. There's a lake out there too, kind of in the middle. I don't know if it's very full right now, but that's really cool that Sloan shares that with you too, though. I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I try to. I'll eventually get kind of a more canoe thing, which she's big enough to get in and we'll
Yeah.
go canoeing.
My only story with a kayak is in the 6th grade, one of my first Boy Scout trip, officially a Boy Scout in 6th grade, when a trip to
Yeah.
Wisconsin, and kayaked for the first time. And it was one of those kayaks that has like the rubber ring around it, kind of an O-ring that you
Yeah.
kind of get into.
Yeah.
And we were being taught, the procedures of being in the kayak, and then ultimately, I don't remember what the word was or the terminology, but how to bail. Like if you flipped over, you need to get out of your kayak.
For sure.
And during that lesson of how to bail, one of my friends took his oar and tipped me, so I capsized. I flipped over, and I hadn't gone through the lesson about how to bail yet. So I'm pushing down on the kayak. I'm not moving. I almost drowned in the 6th grade. So I will not be kayaking with you, but if you want to go, anything else, I'm down.
Okay. Cool.
Let's see. So we have a bunch of people who jumped in. Thanks you guys for being here. Like Kristen said, if you guys have questions or things you'd like to get to know about Pastor Trey, please feel free to post those and share those. Let's see. Is this one? This is a long one. Let's see. So this is from Melissa McElderry. She shared that her family primarily attends the modern service. She looks forward to serving with you and alongside you. And have you ever had the opportunity to study that service or been able to think about any changes you might like or what your vision may be for modern worship?
Yeah, for sure. I've actually, I was talking with Maggie about some stuff this morning. I've Zoomed with the band. I've gotten to know the band. One of the things that I think is a silver lining to the COVID thing is I'm going to try and be really intentional when I first arrive, because we don't know when we're going to come back. We don't know any of that. But I'm guessing we're going to have a little time, right?
Right.
We definitely have a lot of time before it's back to normal. And so I really want to be intentional with meeting the families who are in the modern service, and really listen to say, what do you love about it? Where do you think we can build on the success that it already is? The band is top notch. And I don't have to tell anyone, I don't have to brag about. That's something that as a pastor, you always get a little nervous coming into. When I was here at Evan First, we kind of revamped our music setup and then had the same band for 3 years here. And they were grateful, and I loved them, and they were super talented. And so when you're moving, you're thinking, your mind starts going like to the worst case scenario, and then you hear Maggie and Shane and the rest of the band, and you're like, the first time I watched an online service, I was like, band is amazing. Thank you. I was telling Maggie this morning, I said, look, you, particularly like time-wise, she leads worship probably maybe more than me. I try not to preach too long, and so, with how many songs she's singing, she's leading just as much as I am. And so really trying to be collaborative and build off the strengths of what we already have. But I've had some time to study it. I have some ideas for the online component that we're going to be bringing in. McFarlin's done such a good job being down, 2 pastors through this pandemic and the transition from Linda to Pastor Rockford and everything. And so I think just having an extra pastor who can give all of his attention to it is something that I think is going to be hopefully a lot of fun for you all who are still watching. I know it's been a lot of watching screens and Zooms and Facebook Lives and YouTube, whatever it is. That's something we've had to manage and say, how much time is too much screen time for our daughter? And our doctor said, how much do you need to survive? And we're like, what? And she was like, it's a pandemic. Get through life, and then we'll talk about screen time. And so
that's a good, that's awesome. That's
I love our doctor.
Useful.
But that's something that really trying to make that 45 minutes to an hour, however long, really intentional and special. And so there's some things that I think I'll be able to bring to the new online service. And then through the rest of the pandemic, we got some time to really dream about what has the modern worship service excelled at? Where has it touched people's lives? Where has it been uplifting? And what can we do to just take it to the next level? And so when I get there, I'm trying to find out people. And so Melissa, thank you. I'll probably be emailing you next week when I'm in the office and saying, can we Zoom? Can I meet your family? You can meet my family. In an ideal world, I'd be trying to take people out to dinner. Let's go get coffee.
Yeah.
Come on over. What's your favorite restaurant? Let's go eat, share a meal together and get to know each other. But in the meantime, before we do launch this service, I want to do a lot of relationship building when I come in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's, like you said, a lot that we just take away from this time that catapults in the future. I think you're coming in with a lot of amazing ideas and a lot of just great energy, and that optimism is welcomed. We're excited. So,
Well, thank you.
let's see. Libby Hatter asks, so and all this talks about camp. We obviously sold it really well. So is there or could there be an opportunity for camp for adults?
Yeah. So, something we did here at Edmond First that I'd love to bring to Norman is to do a family camp, a retreat over a
Yeah.
weekend kind of deal. Those are always kind of really well received. Libby, I don't know how old you are, but we do have a young adult camp every January. We're not going to have it this year, but it's called Young Adult Spark, and it first kind of was birthed out of we had all these seniors who were going off to college and they missed camp, and so we'd bring them out for 2 nights, 3 days down at the canyon, and so every year the graduating class kind of adds to that, and so we do have that young adult camp. I know our Wesleys who are also adults do those kind of things, but I would love to take a group of adults out to camp and either tent camp or be in a cabin, or they have a lodge, which is kind of more hotel-ish, which those beds are wonderful. And so I'm not knocking it at all. But I would love to do that. One of the things is I know Canyon still needs help clearing brush from the ice storm. And so maybe one of the things we can do in January, February, for y'all to get to know me and to get your hands dirty a little bit and see our camps is we'll go down on a Saturday for like a morning and maybe half an afternoon or something, I don't know, and go clear brush down at one of our conference camps. And that's a good social distant. We'll be apart from each other, but also get to know each other. And you want to wear masks when your chainsawing anyway. And so maybe that's something we can explore. And then once things are back to normal, we'll do a McFarlin family weekend retreat.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. We actually, there's a history of McFarlin Family Camp. We obviously didn't do it this past year, but yeah, just kind of growing on and doing more in family camp. I think we've actually, maybe we took a step away from it a couple of years ago, but I mean, incorporating something like that, I don't think is ever a bad thing. So let's see. We have a couple people who just come in to said, hey, they're excited for you. Ann Bauer says she's excited. Celia Elwell says, sorry she's late, but she's here now. Carrie Jankowski, it says, welcome, so happy for the future of modern worship. P.S. You need to meet my husband, Matt Jankowski, who also shares a love for kayaking. So you guys can kayaking together, and I'll watch from the shore.
Hey, that's a great socially distant activity.
It really is. Yeah, no, it's like that's perfect.
Yeah,
and then
maybe right now, but
yeah, maybe not in January. Ann Bauer asks, what areas do you see connecting with those of us who don't attend the modern worship service?
Yeah, I think that's, particularly at church, that's McFarland's size, is you have these pastors who kind of like specialized and you don't want to say cordoned off, but literally on the opposite side of the buildings. And so you never want to feel like there's like a traditional church and a modern church that just like happen to like, tithe to the same spice or whatever. And so one of the things I'm really excited about is I'm not just the pastor of modern worship, but also the pastor of discipleship. And the way I've really talked with Wendy is Wendy really helps work with, children and youth and helping oversee kind of that area. And so she's really kind of freed me up to do really anything that's not college ministry up and to help with and to partner with our senior ministries and stuff. And so that's one of the ways that I really hope to build. Here at Edmond First, I really saw myself as kind of the glue pastor. Hold the door open for our preschool every morning just to get to know those families and the kids. I'd love to be able to like carve out time on my schedule at least once a month to go help with the food pantry or whatever kind of missional items are going on. I'm excited that I, particularly right now, I know, and when we come back, that I'll be in the morning traditional worship service. And so trying to get to know people just through those different various activities that is discipleship. I'm going to be talking with our Sunday school leaders and the teachers and seeing how I can be a resource for them. Like every church, there are those Sunday schools that are really well established and have excellent leaders and teachers. And so for me, it's just checking in. How can I help? How can I really be like a resource library for you all, a sounding board for curriculum, or um, helping make sure to call people and check in on them or whatever. And then there's also Sunday schools that need some more support than other ones that are maybe newly formed, or someone's been leading for a long time and they need a little break. And so it's looking at those Sunday schools and saying, how could I come teach? How can some of our retired clergy come teach? How can I help train some of our teachers so that they can be empowered and equipped to use their gifts and graces to help lead, at other churches who may not have the luxury of being as established and large as McFarlin. The pastors really do a lot of that hands-on. What I love about being at a church like McFarlin is there are so many leaders that can help. And so you have like a tiered leadership of, I'll check in with some of our teachers, those teachers check in with other people, and then they can be pointing me and the other pastors on who we need to call, who we need to check in. And so it really becomes this really creative, collaborative community. And so it's not so top down, but really it's empowering the leaders that are already in the church and saying, how can I help you continue doing great things?
Yeah.
So that's something I'm excited about. And hopefully that'll help build those relationships with the people who aren't in the modern worship service.
Absolutely. Celia says discipleship ideas sound great. So a lot of excitement there. And I think, like you said, too, with McFarlin being the size that it is, just bringing you onto the team, and especially with how McFarlin's pastors really do extend their leadership and their guidance beyond just Sunday morning. It's in our missions, it's in our discipleship, it's in our food pantry ministries, it's in everything. So excited to see you do, because you're coming in to do so much more than just modern worship.
Right.
So it's really exciting. So really excited for all those things. Yeah. Let's see. We have a couple other questions. Let's see. Here's a fun one. What vacation or trip that you've ever been on was your favorite, either as a kid or as an adult?
Yeah. Vacation. So my grandparents were those snowbirds who lived in Oklahoma during the summer and went to Florida in the winter. And so every year for spring break, except one spring break, through my entire public school, grade school education, we go to Florida. And so I've been to all the Disneys, but my favorite's always going to Harry Potter World at Universal Studios.
Yeah. In Orlando?
I've been like 2 or 3 times. Once in seminary, my parents were like, hey, we're going down for a business trip, and then we're going to stay 2 nights and do Universal Studios.
Yeah,
and
fun.
I was in Boston, and Addison was like, I can't go, I'm working. And so I was like, cool, bye. And like I was probably like 25 or something, and I just flew down and hung out with my parents down at Universal Studios. So that was a lot of fun. I went to New York City and Washington D.C. through the church my junior year in high school for spring break. And did some really incredible things. It was my first time on a plane, so that's memorable. And then the one other one I'll mention, I've done some really cool vacations, but I studied abroad in Ireland for 2 weeks in college.
Oh, wow.
I studied Celtic Christianity. Addison went on that trip with me. I didn't leave her behind, and we were engaged in Ireland, which was pretty special.
That's special, yeah.
Yeah, you can't go to Ireland and not get engaged if you're in that area.
It's a requirement. You got to get engaged.
Right, it is. And so that was an awesome trip. I've talked to some people at the church already about this, but I'd love to to teach on Celtic Christianity, do some lessons on it. Maybe, when we can fly again, I'd love to lead a travel kind of seminar experience to Ireland. I don't know if that piques your interest. Like, I'll take you to Ireland.
That would be really, really cool. Yeah.
But that was so cool. Just experiencing the breadth of Christian history there, and it's a very unique strain of Celtic Christianity, and I could talk all day about it, so I won't. But that was just so much fun, being in Ireland for 2 weeks and like nerding out and then exploring, and it was pretty cool.
That would be so fun. Yeah. I think for a lot of us too, I think the travel bug has been us all pretty hard, especially since we haven't been able to go really anywhere.
Yes.
Because let's see. Yeah, it's been a while since I've gone on a decent trip, so I'm ready to go. Let's go to Ireland. If we want to go to Ireland, I'm on that trip. Let's do it.
Let's do it big.
Let's do it big. Libby Hatter also wants to know where will your office be located at McFarlin?
Yeah, so I'll be officing next to Scott in I guess it's like the office wing. I don't know the appropriate way to describe it. When I first came to take a tour of the church and kind of hang out there for a day, Scott had been using my office as storage. And and he I think he
That's
was
right. He did.
pretty
I forgot that.
yeah. But he cleaned out super quick. I've actually moved almost all of my stuff. Everything you see here in my Edmond office is pretty much what's being left behind. And so I have my books already in there and some of my special mementos, my diplomas and pictures and stuff. And so that's where it'll be. I have a bad habit here at Edmond. I just kind of officed around the building because at one point I was in our gym area, and so I didn't get to see a lot of people, and so I'd office in the foyer or just different places, and so people would give me a hard time that I didn't actually have an office and that I was just like a rover.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that'll continue at McFarland or anything, but I really hope people will come visit when they can and when it's appropriate and safe to. I might do something where I have like open Zoom office hours that'll be public so people can just pop in and say hi and hang out.
That'll be cool. Yeah.
Because that's just, man, I honestly, this might be payback, but I laughed at Devin when he got moved from McFarland because I was like, man, that's how do you move during pandemic? How do you get to know people? Like wouldn't want to be them or whatever.
And then bam.
And now I'm moving in pandemic and trying to get to know people.
Yeah.
But do like set up Zoom meetings with me. I'm going to be trying to reach out to people, but with how extensive the size of McFarland is, it's going to be tough. But I want to get to know people. I want to hang out. Eventually, we'll have people over to our house for dinners, and we'll go get coffee at y'all. Y'all have to show me the places in Norman where to get coffee and eat and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun. Scott said, "Hey, ... I have a lot of stuff." So he does have a lot of stuff. He has a lot of hiding holes around the church. I'm not going to disclose any of them just in case someone's watching. It might make him go clean them up. But yeah, I mean, that's a really great idea. I never even thought about doing like a public Zoom, especially if you're trying to move and get to know new people. Just saying, "Hey, I'm on Zoom. Here's the code. Come on in."
I'll just have it open on my desktop.
Yeah.
And just I'll be working doing other things.
Idea.
If someone wants to pop in, come on in. Let's hang out.
Yeah. Let's see if anybody has any more lingering questions, make sure to add those. I have a couple more that I'm gonna throw Trey's way, and then we'll ask whatever you all have, and then we'll wrap things up. But let's see. We've talked a lot about actually these things, so let's just actually, is there just anything else on your heart that you want to share with the people who are on, and this will get posted later for people to watch? So, what's on your heart?
Yeah, I'm just so excited to be in Norman. Really, I grew up an OU fan. My parents both received masters, and I've always loved Norman. And I didn't have the opportunity to go to school there because I went to OCU, and so that's kind of been always one of those things. Like, oh, it would have been cool to live in Norman. And so, we're moving down. We're going to be 3 miles away from the church. Our real hope, and kind of plan and dream is, when we were moving, we were looking for which high school do we want Sloan to go to if we're blessed enough to be here long enough. Who knows what's in store for us in the next day even. And so as a pastor to be planning where you're going to live long term is sometimes a fool's errand. But if we're blessed to be able to, we want to make Norman our home. We want to raise Sloan in church. McFarland's such an awesome church. I had friends who were talking, clergy friends who were like, "Man, I'd love to go to McFarland. I'd love to be a part of that." And I didn't know that I was being considered for it, so I was encouraged. I was saying, "You need to apply. You need to email, call Rockford, do something," because I know McFarland's such an awesome church. And so whenever I got the call, I was shocked. I was blown away. It wasn't something I was expecting, and I got a call on the Wednesday of the week, and then Friday I came down to meet with Rockford, Wendy, and Karen for SBRC, and really had like no idea what was going on. And I remember leaving that meeting. It was maybe an hour and a half meeting, and just thinking like this is the place. This is where I want to be. I love my time here at Edmond First, and there's always sadness to leave a place that you love.
Yeah.
But it makes it easier when you can be so excited for the new place you're going. When I first came and visited, I saw Fenn Hall in the space and was blown away by it. And Stephen was talking about how there's plans to even to expand it and make it growth and all these things. And to be going to a church during this time where so many other churches are seeing decline and struggle, and to come to a place and say, hey, we're dreaming and planning for the future. It's something that I don't take for granted. And so I'm excited to come. We move on the 31st. I've been getting texts on my computer. I think our closing date's moving up. So we're actually might move on the 30th now. I don't know. I'll have to call my wife after this. Might need to go home and pack.
Yeah.
But we are super excited. We're living just south of Highway 9. We're like less than 4 miles from the church.
Oh yeah.
And it was really important for us to really move and like be as close to the church, be as close, and then we want to set roots down and be a part of the community. Man, being a pastor, like every church in the conference is great. You love everything, and there's good people at every church. But when you get a call to go to a place like McFarlin, that's special. And that's something just to be grateful for. And so I'm coming in, Addison coming in. My wife works in higher ed. She has a degree and master's in higher ed from Boston College. And so for her to be able to, OU was kind of always a little too far from where we lived in Edmond. And so for her now to have those opportunities in Norman, I came home and everyone would be like, hey, honey, we might be moving,
right?
And those kind of things. And when I told her, she was like, immediately, she was like, okay. Yeah. She's like, yeah, let's do it. And at first I was like, are you sure? Like, I don't want to be, we're in this together. And she was kind of one of the first ones, and she's done this, and I'll talk about this in some sermon, but she's always been my person to be like, this is a God thing. This is what we're supposed to do. And so she like right away was like, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. And I was like, if she's excited about it, I was already excited about it, but you never know how your spouse is going to react. And so when I saw that was just another confirmation that this is really where God's called us to be. And so I guess what's on my heart is just excitement. Maybe a little nerves because it's such a weird time, and we have such high expectations and dreams and goals that you want to reach it. But man, I just I want Sloan to graduate from Norman High, even though their colors are orange and black. Why they're orange and black in Norman, I don't know. We'll get over it.
Right.
But that's the intention. That's where our heart is. Our heart. We love our house. We were able to get a really nice house. We found like the house of our dreams. So we're very grateful. I mean, it all feels like it's lining up and it's perfect. And I'm just excited to meet everyone. Yeah. And there's a lot of people to meet.
There's a lot of people to meet for sure.
Yeah.
And, with McFarlin being kind of that hub, that heart of Norman, you're going to meet so many people and there's going to be so many opportunities. And I love how, you and your family are just super excited about this transition. And I think to plant roots in Norman, I'm a little partial. I grew up here. So I think it's really great. I did go to Norman North though. So, not really, it's fine. If she wants to go to Norman High, that's great too. But I can say, I truly feel confident I can speak for everybody who is watching and who will watch this later, that we are all just really excited for you to come and for us to be able to welcome you into this family, into this congregation, and into this community, and just excited for all that you're going to add and the opportunities to serve alongside you, and just continue on into the future. So I want to say thank you, Trey, for taking time out of your afternoon. It sounds like you might need to be packing a lot pretty soon. I
have no idea what I'm walking into after this Zoom call. I'm a little terrified. So we can keep this going as long as we want. But no, I do appreciate. Thank you, Austin.
Absolutely.
Austin and I have been talking about confirmation and youth stuff, and man, he told me that what were you saying? Like 200 youth will go on mission trips, and that's just awesome. That's just so good to hear. Something that I'm really looking forward to being a part of. I met some of the junior high youth actually when I moved in. Scott grabbed some of them and was like, "Hey boys, go move all this stuff." And like they just grabbed it and threw it all in my office. Not through. They were very gentle and respectful of my stuff. But it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. It was great. And so it was such a good warm welcome. And Sloan's going to be going to the CDO program or whatever we're calling it. And so we're excited for her to start there and be a part of it. So when we post this, can we post my email either in
Absolutely.
the comments or in the post. Please email me. Let's start getting to know each other, particularly if you're in the modern worship service. I want to meet you. I want us to Zoom, start building those relationships, start building that trust, and start dreaming together. Because really,
Absolutely.
eventually, we're going to relaunch this service, and so this is the opportunity to say, let's do it right. Let's do it big. Let's improve on what's already been so well established, and let's go change lives. Let's change the world.
Yeah, and I will let everybody know who's watching and will watch this. Definitely capitalize on an opportunity just to get to know Trey and reach out, get to know him, talk to him, share what you've been thinking. We did a test run of this like last week, and we jumped on to talk about really was, I think, just to maybe do a test run of this and maybe talk through a couple confirmation things. But we ended up being on the call for, I mean, much longer than I had anticipated, which I was fine with because I just left the conversation really inspired. So definitely take the opportunity to get to know Trey, talk to him, and get to know his heart, let him get to know yours. And, we're just so excited. So Trey, thank you again so much.
Sure.
Hoping that the messages you're getting ready to read from whatever it is about your closing is good news and that you're ready for it. If you need any help, let us know. But Trey, we love you, and we'll see you really soon. So
cool.
Awesome.
Thank you, Austin.
Yeah. Bye, guys. See everybody later.
Hey, bye, y'all. Thank you for tuning in.